Cap there. We're going to go on to the biggest trade, not only in NBA history, but potentially sports history as a whole. I'll go through some other comparisons here in a second. Luka Doncic. This is. I'm going to keep this. It's probably going to accumulate value over the next couple of years. There's going to be kids born within the next 10 years who had no idea that Luka played on the Mavs, because Luka Doncic has been traded to the Los Angeles Lakers, as well as Maxi Kleber and Markieff Morris. They go to the Lakers. Dallas, the Mavericks, in return, they receive Anthony Davis, Max Christie, and a Los Angeles 2029 first-round draft pick. And for whatever reason, the Utah Jazz have been thrown in there. They receive Jalen Hood-Schifino, a Los Angeles Clippers. I don't know how they adjust to this at all. 25 second rounder and a Dallas 25 second rounder. I'm going to just ask the question immediately. We'll start with Caleb in the bottom there. Is this the biggest trade in sports history?
Yes, because of the sheer stupidity. Just the generational talent, right? Generational. Let's remember that word, generational. When's the last time we've seen a generational talent get traded for peanuts and eggs?
So, Caleb, here we go. So a lot of websites, Fox, ESPN, they've done the due diligence of looking these up for me. So these are the 5 that I think. Here are probably the 5 biggest trades in sports history, all right, outside of this. So Kevin Garnett to the Celtics, Alex Rodriguez to the New York Yankees, Wilt Chamberlain to the 76ers, Wayne Gretzky to the Kings. And if you had to ask anyone over the age of 50, it's probably this one, Babe Ruth to the New York Yankees. So those are probably the 5 biggest ones in all of sports. Does this equate to any of that?
Yes, it does. And solely for the main reason, have we ever, first of all, I'm going to give 2. Have we ever seen a generational talent, first, like you said, Caleb, go to the finals the year before and get traded mid-season? And then second, have we ever seen a starter get traded for a starter? Like I don't mean like just like a starter, like a just role player. That I mean a generation, the offense. Get traded for the offense. Like I'd never seen that before. And not like in age value, like AD's 31, Luka's 25. Like we never seen this before. So never seen before, always going to win in my opinion. Babe Ruth might be number 1. That's wild. I'm not going to lie. But number 2, Luka AD, man.
Matt, you were shaking your head there for pretty adamantly.
Bro, Babe Ruth? What? No, dude. He was smoking like 40 packs a day, and he's peak athlete, he's peak male. Listen, I'm a baseball guy, not like to heart, but that's not the trade. Like, Babe Ruth is not like the trade of all time. It's probably Wayne Gretzky. If it's not Wayne Gretzky, wasn't there somebody in the NBA, I'm forgetting who, that was traded for it was like one guy, and they got like 17 picks for him. Like, I feel like there was something there.
Paul George.
Talking about Paul George.
Yeah, Paul George, though.
That might be like the biggest trade because of how that's stupid.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, I mean, that's not the. I'll say this. That doesn't compare to this because those were all picks and unpotential, like non-big players. I'm watching Phoenix versus OKC right now. Nobody predicted that Shai Gilgeous-Alexander would be a top 5 player in the league. No one predicted that. He was second in MVP voting last year. No one predicted that with Paul George. We know what's on the table with Anthony Davis and with Luka Doncic. Luka Doncic, 2009 Rookie of the Year, 5-time, first team All NBA, went to the finals last year, scoring champion. Everybody knows his stats. Anthony Davis, go argue with the wall when I say this, one of the best defensive players to ever touch a basketball ever.
When he's healthy.
Yes, sir.
My favorite graphic of all time is like Anthony Davis led the league in college basketball in blocks. Who was number 2? Michigan State. Like, he was out blocking teams in college. And let's be honest, I know there's a lot of supplementary. This is how most trades are nowadays. It comes with someone else. I can't tell you the last time I've seen a 1-for-1 trade. It always comes with like, hey, we'll give you, we'll fill your Coke machines for the next 2 years, and we'll also, we'll individually pump all the basketballs up on game day. It's always comes with like some random piece of information. But this is essentially was a 1-of-1 trade. Luka Doncic for Anthony Davis. I'm a Luka Doncic fan. Everybody who knows me and knows I love sports knows that. This might be the dumbest shit of all time.
All right, I'll go.
Ahead,
I actually disagree. So when you look at, I'm going to talk about it from both sides, okay?
I'll play devil's advocate too, so go ahead.
So there's something we don't know as for the reason this trade even happened. There is definitely something we don't know. And I also feel like as Luka got traded because they talked about how heavy he was. He doesn't look heavy when he was sitting on the Lakers bench. I think this was also could have been like a little James Harden thing. Remember when James Harden wanted out of Houston, he wore the fat pack under his warm-up suit.
Say it, Matt.
Definitely had a pregame meal.
He ended up in Brooklyn, and then the dude had a six-pack again. So when I look at this trade, right, of course Luka led them to the finals. Luka was averaging, 35, 9 and 9 or something in the finals on one leg, and he was fat, all right? So if you look at this, but the way it's been going this year, he's been hurt, and they look at the way the team is built. I don't believe that they could have won a championship with the way that they were built. So they say, look, the way that this guy is, his conditioning, this, that, do we want to give him the biggest contract in NBA history at $70 million a year, $350 million? They look like they didn't want to, right? And this is also the GM who did not draft Luka-Doncic. That's the biggest key factor right there. He did not draft him. He came into, that was going to sound out of pocket. He came into a situation where Luka-Doncic was there. So if you're the Lakers, because they only called the Lakers, but if they started shopping Luka around, there would have been speculation. Something's wrong with Luka, and his value would have dropped. So you trade him to the Lakers, you get AD. AD is a top 10 player in the NBA. As you said, he's one of the greatest defenders of all time. This season, he's averaging like 26 and 12, and he's been healthy the past 2 years. So does his fit work better with the Mavericks when you look at Kyrie Irving, Klay Thompson, and AD? Is that duo right there good for the next 3 years if you believe your championship window is now? Because the Lakers make this trade for the next 15 years. It's not just about this year. It's for the next 15 post LeBron. And LeBron could be able to help Luka. They have kind of the same I'm not saying built the same. They're both about 6'8", both about 250 pounds. He can show him how to get your body right, how to condition. He's like, I lasted 20 years doing this. You could do the same. You could be an all-time talent. I like the trade for both sides. And there's only one way to tell, and it's going to be how does this work out for the Mavericks? Because the Lakers, you're not going to tell right now. But how can this work out for the Mavericks? Say if the Mavericks make a conference finals this year, does it work out? We'll have to see.
I've created the perfect comparison here. You make a compelling point, Rob. First of all, you are correct. The Lakers absolutely fleeced the Mavericks. I would do that deal. Would you do that deal? Yeah, I'd take that deal.
Yeah, you'd be crazy not to, but I would be
crazy not to, right? The reason you would be crazy not to take that deal because it's crazy to think Luka-Doncic would ever leave the map. No, let me back up. It'd be crazy to think anyone would trade Luka-Doncic. I don't care if he's got weight and conditioning problems. This guy dropped 73 on the Atlanta Hawks. Sorry, that's not a stray. 73 on the Atlanta Hawks last year. Let me tell you this. A lot of people I've seen online have been trying to draw the NBA comparison, the NFL comparison to this trade. And I've seen a lot of people say it's Joe Burrow for TJ Watt. Listen, for the people who have said that or whoever made that originally, that's a pretty good comparison, and I give you a lot of credit for that. Here's the actual comparison to me. Luka-Doncic in this situation is Shohei Ohtani. He's going to LA. He's going to carry that franchise for however many years after the guy who's already there is leaving, a.k.a. Freddie Freeman or Mookie Betts in the situation. It's LeBron in the NBA situation. But if you're the Dallas Mavericks, let me tell you something. Let me share with you a story, anecdotal story. I went to a Pacers and Mavericks game last year in Indianapolis at Gainbridge. It was an easy drive. The tickets were cheap. Luka's my favorite player. Me and my dad try to go to one NBA game every year. We wanted to go see Luka. We got to the arena right when the gates open. There was some timing issues, so gates got opened a little bit earlier. Every single kid, parent, person in that arena was there to see Luka-Doncic. You giving him that max contract, I know it's easy to look at it at a basketball standpoint, right? Hey, you're going to fill up the salary cap. It's going to be struggles to build players. You got to look at this as a business decision. This is an international superstar, top 5 player in the league, top 5 generational talent. More than likely, he's got Michael Jordan numbers. We've all seen the stats they've put up on the board. I don't care if it's a business decision. Oh, we don't want to pay that money. You will make all that money back in ticket sales, jersey sales, everything. And you're already losing money. The Mavericks have offered refunds to season ticket holders. I don't think this was a basketball decision. I think this was a business decision, and I think it was a bad business decision.
I want to hop in real quick. I have to agree with Rob to some standpoint of playing devil's advocate because looking at Luka, like he does look like he's gained a little weight, but I do agree. If Luka wants to run up the court with a cigarette in his hand, you let him. Like, you just let him. But I don't know many NBA players that are gaining weight and I can't believe I'm saying this on this podcast. Our top 500 in Overwatch. If you're top 500 in any game, any video game, and you're like a professional player, you may need to rethink your priorities a little bit. Now, if you got the time for that and your body's great, like if LeBron was a top 500, I wouldn't think questions of it because he's had a great career. He's leaving a legacy behind. His body's in great shape. He's still dropping 25 a night. I wouldn't think anything of it. Luka's not at that point yet. Like Luka's a great player. He's the future of the league, but he's just not at that point. So it raises the question of how dedicated are you? Is he a good player?
Two things.
Yes. Does he deserve that Supermax? Yes. Is Dallas wrong for rethinking giving him that Supermax and offloading him? No.
I'll say two things. Number one, during their three-peat, even at the first one, Shaquille O'Neal was consistently overweight and out of shape at the start of every single season. Kobe Bryant shamed him for it. That's the reason their relationship was so rocky, is because it took Shaq 20 to 30 games to get in shape. Well, guess what? They won 3 championships. So again, if that's something you got to work through. But also, we've all seen the thing where Luka came on and said, hey, they fired all the people that I liked and they tried to get new people in. It's come out that the Mavericks fired all of the training, the conditioning staff, and they got new people in there. And he was still gaining weight. Okay. So at what point is that your fault? At what point did you hire bad training and conditioning staff? You hired bad dietitians. You hired bad, I don't know, lifestyle coaches or anything. At what point do you as an owner, and I hate to say it this way, but an NBA player, the NBA player, your team, that's your product. At what point is it your job? Is it your responsibility to just take care of your product? If you don't like that Luka Doncic is overweight, you as a general manager, go follow him around and smack every donut out of his hand. We all saw that video of someone taking that beer out of Luka Doncic's hand. Go do that all the time if you're mad with his weight, right? Don't have him lift weights. Hey, we're having a workout. Luka, you go on the treadmill for the entire practice. We know your ball skills are good. Go burn it off. At what point do you have to accept responsibility? I'm boggled with this. I think, first of all, again, Rob, you hit the nail on the head. As much as I'm a LeBron detractor, he's done a great job taking care of his body. I think Luka looks up to him a lot. I think LeBron sees him as his mentee, his next project. I think this is going to work out for the Lakers tremendously, and I think Nico Harrison's going to be fired within the next 3 years. And I think the Adelson family is just going to ruin the franchise because they're already doing it.
I genuinely want to ask all you guys here, though. Anyone can take it. So, as I said, I don't mind the trade because it's 2 top 10 players getting traded both ways, right? If you really wanted to get rid of Luka, I don't think there was a better package. So, is there any other package that you think that they actually could have gotten better outside of just saying, oh, you could have got 6, 7 first round picks? Because we know that first round picks don't always work out in the NBA now. It's rare that it does.
Let me tell you something. I think there are several teams in the league. So there's 30. So I'll say there's probably I use this number already. There's more than 20 teams in the NBA who would trade their best player for Luka Doncic right now, right? If you shopped them around, I could easily see the Celtics going, Jaylen Brown, we don't really need you, right? Kristaps Porzingis, we can send you back to Dallas. Honestly, let me tell you something. The rest of the team wouldn't look so good because you have to trade so many players. But I think Denver would have been willing to get rid of pretty much everyone except Jokic to bring in Luka, and they would have filled the rest of the roster with UPS players on 10-day contracts. They would have done that the rest of the season. If they shopped Luka, let me tell you something. You would have seen a lot of packages. New Orleans would have sent pretty much everyone. They would have sent Ingram and Zion. Nice. OKC, I think is a team that wouldn't. I think OKC would have stayed away from it. The Timberwolves, I mean, you know what? The number one team, I'll tell you what am I talking about? The Knicks would have blown up the entire system they would have built, and they would have had Tom Thibodeau beat that man into shape.
That one's not bad.
Ronnie,
I'll be honest, because the only other one that crossed my mind was Denver. That was really the one that I was like.
The Bulls maybe could have made a compelling offer.
That's the thing, though. But if you look at Nico Harrison's reasoning, right? That's why I say I don't mind the AD trade because it was a top 10 player. He said, we feel like we could compete now, and we want a big that plays defense. So you get a guy who averages 26 points and is the best defender in the NBA outside of Victor Wembanyama. I mean, that's a really good thing to look at. So I don't think that there's too many teams that could offer a top 10 guy.
Here's the next problem you run into, right? That's a great idea. We have a video on this channel. If you're watching on YouTube and Spotify, scroll back a little bit, you'll see it. I have a video called How Key is Klay? And I talk about the entire success built around Klay Thompson coming to that team and all the additions that they made. Klay Thompson went to this team to play with Luka Doncic because he knew what Luka offered, drive and kick. He's one of the best passers in the league. Kyrie went to this team because he knew what he offered, the driving and the three-point shooting, worked in isolation, worked really well with Luka. You brought a lot of talent into this team to build around Luka, and guess what? They know Luka's no longer there. So Klay Thompson and Kyrie Irving, yeah, I know they've played with, they've played with and against AD for a super long time, but how are those guys going to relate to each other? This word gets used a lot in the NBA, and I think it should. The word is fit, right? Yeah, AD is one of the best rim protectors. He's a great three-point shooter. He's not going to have to play the five, Gafford and Lively. I like both of them a lot as centers. I think Lively is one of the best young centers in the league. So ADs can get to go play the four. But you got to worry about the 3, 2, and the 1, and I don't think they're happy right now.
I understand that, but I mean, at this point, you still have Kyrie Irving on the team. At this point, he would just become the shot caller. Like, he will have to take over the roles and responsibilities that Luka has, and it's going to be.
That's another thing too. And I'm going to cut you off real quick. I'm cutting you off. There is no. You have a team of Robins. You have a team of Robins. You have a team of guys who have been the second best player, third best player on every team they have ever been on. You don't have. Kyrie has tried to be the number one option. Guess what? It didn't work. Klay Thompson has legitimately never been better than the second best player on his team. Anthony Davis has had to, he did a great job. He did a great job in the finals, right? The bubble year. Him and LeBron have gone back and forth. He's obviously shown that he could be the number one option in the regular season with the Lakers the last 2 seasons, but the playoffs come and it just doesn't work out that way. But you don't have a guy who has ever had to put the team on his shoulders before. And so now you have to ask the question, who is it? Is it Kyrie or is it AD? Who is going to be the team's number one guy?
No, I'll
ask you that question. I'll ask all you that question. If you had to pick between AD and Kyrie, who do you want as the number one?
Anthony Davis.
100%. But that's a great take.
I want Kyrie take. Kyrie's got the ball, and when it hits a minute left in that fourth quarter, that ball's not leaving Kyrie's hands. He's taking that shot because that's what Kyrie does. Kyrie's going to hit you that game winner. Kyrie's going to hit that clutch shot that you need. But then you have Anthony Davis and you have Klay Thompson standing in the corner. That's why I think it could work. I think this could really actually be good. The thing that we need to hope for, we get a Lakers-Mavericks playoff series. Could you imagine what Luka will put up in that series?
Ticket sales will be crazy, man.
He's an average.
I feel like
Dallas, Alice, Malice, Lakers in 5.
I feel like we've overlooked some things with Anthony Davis. We used to call him street clothes for a reason. Because he struggles to complete a full season playing, 80, 70 games.
Yeah, but he's fixed that.
He's 31. He's 31 years old, right? So he's not getting any younger. So trading your 25-year-old generational talent for this guy who struggles with injuries, who's 31, that's what the issue comes from. If they traded for Victor, I'd say it's more even. But this trade here, health issues, everything, no. Definitely top.
I think that the big issue that people are having with this trade is the fact that they were in the finals last year. If they didn't make finals, if they were barely scratched by in the playoffs, I could see how people would be like, okay, that's not a terrible trade. But they made finals last year. So that's why I'm thinking people have a problem with this trade, because it's just such a shock. It materialized overnight. It was coming out of the shadows, and then bam, he's gone. I agree on the Anthony Davis injury stuff, but do you need him to be healthy? Let's say it's 82, 60, 98. Do you need him to be healthy 100 games a season? No. You need him to be healthy enough to make it to the playoffs, and then the playoffs. That's it. It's going to be like a Kawhi Leonard situation.
I think the biggest thing, whoa, that's a hot take there. That's another conversation another time, because we're going to move on to some different topics here. I think the biggest thing to come out of this, though, is there's kind of been this thing in the NBA the last couple of years that a lot of people have been really upset about, that the players have maybe a little bit too much power. And I've agreed with that. You just said Kawhi Leonard, right? We talked about Paul George. We've said these things before. But I think this here kind of maybe sets a precedent that the owners do have control and the general managers are the ones in charge. And that's going to lead to a really rocky road that the NBA is going to have to travel down. Let's look at some other trades because we're not just talking. Matt, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I don't think JFK even had an exit from Dallas this shocking.
Okay, all right. Okay, gee, that you are not getting sent to for the rest of the evening. You're gonna have to fight for your airtime.
Hey Matt, how's that one-way ticket? How's that one-way ticket? Straight to hell, bro. I ain't gonna lie, that was messed up. I ain't gonna lie, that was messed up, bro. I ain't gonna lie.
Hey, is he getting $50 million though? Is he getting $50 million?